Alright, so today let's talk about a little fraction action. So I want to talk about comparing fractions, ordering fractions from least to greatest or greatest to least. But first, let's talk about the parts of a fraction. So the first number right here on a fraction is what we call the numerator. The next part, or the bottom part right here, is what we call the denominator. The denominator is how many parts or how many groups that you're making. For example, if we were to represent this fraction with a circle, it means that I have to take this circle, this hole right here, and divide it into 4 equal parts. The numerator is whatever number we're talking about, or how many parts or how many groups that we're talking about. So in this case, it's 3. It means we're talking about 3 of these 4 parts right there. So that would represent 3/4. We can also represent that in a couple different ways too. So remember, we can have a rectangle here to show 3/4, and that would look like this. Another way to show 3/4 is if we were to take a group of something. In this case, let's see if we can get something stars, and we've got, let's see, maybe 8 stars. Then what we're doing is we're dividing those 8 stars into 4 groups. So it may look something like this. So there's my 4 groups right there, and we're talking about 3 of those groups. So that's how we can show fraction 3/4 in a couple of different ways. One way that I tell my students is that I think about the denominator here as kind of like if you're going to the grocery store. The denominator is sort of whatever you're ordering. So if you're into the grocery aisle and you want to buy some bananas, that's the denominator. It tells you what thing that you're going to buy. The numerator is how many of those things that you're going to buy. So if the denominator is bananas, that's that, and then the numerator is, say, you're kind of buying 3 bananas. Okay, so enough with that. Let's talk about comparing fractions here. So I'm going to do a quick little erase here, and I want to compare a couple different fractions. So let's take a look at comparing 3/4 to 1/2, and we'll do, how about 2/3? So if we were to compare these fractions and put them in order from least to greatest, I'm going to show you a really cool technique that I just learned on how to get these guys into order, a quick little way to do this. So the first thing that you need is grid paper. So what we're going to do is memorize these fractions, and then I'm going to switch to the next page to go to grid paper. So we have the fractions 3/4, 1/2, and 2/3. So my first step is to figure out which fraction has the biggest denominator. And you can see here that 3/4, in fact, has the biggest denominator. It's 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle that has 4 squares, just like this. And then I'm going to color in the 3 to represent my 3/4. And that would look like this. So this right here would represent 3/4. Now the next thing I'm going to do is create another rectangle that's the same size. And this is really important. Some students want to do a rectangle that looks something like this to show that there's 2 parts. We can't compare fractions like that. The whole has to be the same. So now what we're going to do is we've got these this rectangle here, and I'm going to create it into, make 1/2 out of it and show that. So I've got to make 2 equal parts. So I'm just going to put it right down the middle, and I'm going to shade one of them, and that would show 1/2. And remember, our top is 3/4. And now for the last one, same thing. I'm going to create another rectangle. It's going to be the exact same size. And now I have to break this guy up into thirds. So I'm going to try to represent thirds. And it looks pretty good there. There's my 3 parts. And each part is pretty equal. Now we're talking about 2/3. So I'm going to shade these. And now, if we look at these fractions, we can see which one is obviously bigger. And you can see that the biggest one is in fact 3/4, the next biggest is 2/3, and then last is 1/2. So if we were to order these guys from least to greatest, it would look something like this. Okay. Let's do this one more time with a different set of fractions. Let's do maybe 5/6, 4/7, and then let's do 2/5. And we're going to try to do this one. So remember, the first thing that we're going to do is look for the one that has the biggest denominator. In this case, it's 7. So I'm going to make my first rectangle 7 long. And we're talking about 4 of those. So that's going to look like this. My next fraction, let's do 5/6. This one's going to be a little tricky to divide this up into 6 equal parts. I may have to erase a little bit and get some parts. So I do know that the 6 is going to be a little bigger than the 7. So I'm just going to keep seeing if I can do something like this to get my 6 equal parts. And that was way off. So obviously that didn't work. We're going to try that again. Try that again in instant replay. So we'll go a little bit bigger in the 6th. A little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. And I'm still not getting it. I think if I can play with this. Here, I should. Sorry about this. This is the only tricky part, is when you have to divide it up into 6 equal parts. Did I get it that time? Not really. Okay. Starting all over. Like I said, hardest part is getting it like this. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I finally got it. And there's my 6th. So now I've got 5/6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't need to be perfect, our parts, but you want to get them pretty close. You can see that my other ones were way off, and this line is not perfect, but it's pretty close. So my next one, I'm going to do 2/5, and we'll see how bad I mess up on this one. And we're just doing 2, so I'm going to do 2, and I didn't do great on this one either, but I only need to do 2/5. So now you can see pretty easy. Here's 4/7, here's 5/6, and 2/5. And you can see that obviously the smallest is 2/5, the next biggest is 4/7, and last is 5/6. So that's one way to do it. Figure out and order fractions. I'm sorry that I messed up so many times, but remember that the big part is to try to get those parts. Could be people.